You're listening to This Week in E-Commerce, the Ecom Nation podcast. Dive into the top online retail headlines with your hosts, Paul Waddy and Mal Chia. Let's load up the cart. This Week in E-Commerce, episode 55. I am Mal Chia, and back with me is Paul Waddy. Paul, welcome back.
Good to be back. Mal, how was my stand-in?
There was no stand-in. I just did solo. I just did a solo episode last week.
Oh, okay. I thought we had a... Oh, no, that was 3 weeks.
That was a couple of weeks ago. So that was Alex from Searchspring a couple of weeks ago. This was just me last week. So which is not as much fun talking to yourself. And I got to say, I've done it a few times. It's still a weird experience, just like recording a podcast to yourself. It's just not the same vibe. I know you do your podcast, your side hustle podcast. And that's just a solo one. How do you find recording that?
The trick is sometimes I get my wife to read read points out to me, so it at least seems like I'm discussing it with someone. But you know what I think we could do, and we've said this a few times, is throw the link out live.
We have said that. We haven't done anything about it.
We haven't done anything about it, but I think a live one where we just kind of take questions and not feel lonely.
Okay, all right. Maybe next Friday. Maybe next Friday we'll do that. We'll send the link out and see who joins us.
Okay.
Although I'm with you, so I never feel lonely when I'm with you, Paul. Even virtually. Even though we were in the same city and I didn't see you yesterday.
That's right. We here yesterday.
Yeah, I was here for the IPX, the Impact.com IPX event. So I did a fireside chat then. It was a very quick in and out. They flew me in the afternoon, went for the event, and then watched Port lose the footy, and then got up this morning, did a couple of calls, then back home.
Yeah, sorry about Port.
Yeah. So am I. So were they. It was horrible. I've never seen such a terrible capitulation. There was just no effort, no energy. I was actually thinking someone needs to run an ad about that, just going like, we put in more effort than the power.
Well, they ran out of power.
Yeah.
Well, you always have the Swans as your backup.
I do. They are my backup team.
Good.
So very good. All right, we're going to dive straight into it. So it has been yet another very, very big week. We're not going to talk about earnings because I think a lot of the main earnings they've obviously been announced. Mosaic, like I said last week, they are holding off theirs until the end of September. So they are now in their trading hold. So that's not good news over there. So we're going to skip over any further mention of the markets until next quarter. But we are going to talk about Paul Zara, who also recently resigned. Paul, did you hear that?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I had the pleasure of having lunch with Paul Zara back when I was doing something. That's a what's he do? Where's he off to?
Well, he's just said that with the merger with the NRA, he's decided that now was the time for him to step down.
Oh, okay. I'll be interested. He's a lovely guy and super experienced. I'll be really keen to see what's next for Paul.
Yeah, whether he stays in retail or whether he moves into another industry. It's always interesting, the people who take those jobs at the top of industry bodies, not necessarily from the industry, but that they kind of like that space, those membership body, advocacy group type things. But anyway, he had a quote the other day, which was talking about July's retail numbers, where he said that Australia is undergoing one of retail's most difficult years. Probably absolutely no surprises there, but the numbers are truly horrific. Not only has growth been flat with very little growth, there's actually been negative growth in clothing, footwear, and personal accessory, which was the sector which had the largest fall, followed by department stores, and then cafes, restaurants, and takeaway, which was down 0.2%. So overall, some pretty terrible signs. And also with the RBA coming out and saying that don't count on there being any sort of interest rate cuts in the near future, despite our banks making a $9.8 billion profit. But CBA, we're looking at you.
How do they scrape by?
Yeah, they're doing it tough over there. But yeah, I don't. Are you surprised?
No. I mean, no. We're at the coalface, I guess, in many ways. So we sort of see these numbers. It's funny as I read this article on Power Retail. The one that sits up next is FY24, profitable year for Coles with 30% e-commerce sales growth. So Coles and Woolies doing okay. No, not surprised. What's interesting is the line here that, clothing, footwear, and personal accessories is copying it quite hard. followed by department stores. Household goods retailing unchanged. Makes the point that only food was up in July. It also makes the point that it fell in July after high spending on mid-year sales. And so it kind of lending itself again to that idea that we always talk about, which is people do wait for sales. People do know sales are coming and will hold back spending. So June was up, I think, 0.5% based on good spending on mid-year sales. Sales stop, spending comes down. I think that proves the point that people wait for sale. And it also proves the point that you made recently, which is that sales do bring forward spend. It's not like magically more money appears in the economy. That it's taking out of July sales, I would say. So no, not surprised. I mean, we probably saw this coming, right?
Yeah, and I think you're going to see the same in November, where December, I would think we're going to have one of the worst Decembers on record from a retail perspective, because it's so close now. Like Cyber is buttressing up right up till the end of November. So Cyber Monday is on December 1st or December 2nd. So it's you're going to see a very soft period. So I think everyone is just going to do all their Christmas shopping at that time, which doesn't bode well even for foot traffic. You know, you may get the last minute spenders, but everyone's going to be coming in and doing their shopping earlier because they know that's when all the big sales are going to be. Yeah, and it's not great. And I think last week as well, Dipper at Retail Global, he posted something which the memo said. So the memo with the lovely water bottles came out and said that they're not going to participate in sales, and they were very open about it and just saying it's bad for business. Like when we go on sale, it hurts our margins, which hurts our staff, which hurts our suppliers, which means that we can't continue to bring you a good product. So please respect us for not going on sale, and hope that you still remain a good customer. I think that's a great message. To be shifting
was
towards
that?
that.
Did you say memo?
The memo.
Awesome. Love that.
Yeah, I wish more people would do that. Because I think the reality is that consumers look at it and go like, I'm waiting for a bargain. But unfortunately, that bargain comes at a cost. Yeah, and it's usually someone else's livelihood. So yes, you may be getting a deal, but someone's getting screwed in this equation. And you can see it here that, you know, right now, the people who aren't getting screwed are the Woolworths and the Coleses of the world, as well as obviously the banks, like we talked about before, who are doing great in this market.
Yeah, it never wastes a good recession. Yeah, I think I'm really excited about that with the memo, just checking them out. Good on them. And I love actually that they've not just not done it, they've actually made a stand on it. And here we are talking about it. But this is good, man. I hope more people draw a line in the sand and say that we will protect our business. And we believe that we have a product that should sell for a certain price and we're not going to compromise on that. Love that. Hats off to.
Yeah, look, and it may hurt you in the short term, but you know, as far as like building a long-term, profitable, sustainable business, gosh, that's the only way to do it. Like you can't discount your way to success.
That's it.
Well, unless you're cheap as chips, or that is your business model.
And that's fair. Like if, you know, someone said to me, oh yeah, but we discount and it works. Yeah, you're a discounting business. That's different. If you're a discounting business and that is one of your strategies, oh, fine. We're not talking to you right now. That's Coles. That's everyday low prices. But for the most part, we're talking about the brands who for 11 months of the year try and tell people that they're affordable luxe and this and that and elevated and then go 30% off site-wide. That doesn't make sense.
But in the meantime, though, I'm not expecting things to get much better this back half of the year. And January, I'm very curious to see what next January looks like. January's always soft anyway, but
I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be really hard. I think, people are just going to go deep on the discounts in November. Yeah, I agree. I think December's going to be a bit of a bloodbath, and it'd be interesting to see what October does if people just start holding back their spend. But I think it's going to be pretty nasty.
Yeah, we are going to need a rate cut soon, at least 1 or 2 rate cuts before we get any semblance of consumer confidence, because I think the government is not doing much to really help out at the moment.
Ridiculous. It's like the price of mustard.
You again with the mustard. I'm going to have to stock up for you.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go on to another not so good news story, which is Sass Bide are shutting all their standalone retail stores. So Sass Bide, which were acquired by Myer quite a while ago, have decided that they are going to close down all their retail stores and only have them available within the department stores. Sass and Bide was like, it feels like part of my youth is now dying, because they were the it brand of like the early 2000s, I feel. And then, obviously fashion comes and goes, but they've been relatively, they've had some level of longevity. But now to close the stores, it's kind of an end of an era, it feels like.
You're right. Sass and Bide were like the brand of the 2000s. I remember we're saying, well, unless you're a needle in a haystack brand like Sass and Bide that just has it and got these big valuate, they got a big 42 mil or whatever from Myer, and then they bought the rest, and then it kind of was like, they were amazing, beautiful. Like the store in central Sydney was just next level, the detail in the garments, and then it kind of just feels like I don't know if they skipped a generation or something, but it kind of feels like, in my opinion, like my wife's era was like all about Sass and Bide. And then they kind of like a little bit of Sass and Bide, but moved into other things, maybe like Age and stuff like that. But then I feel like the group under that just went Meshki, Baby Boo, Hello Molly. And I feel like maybe Sass and Bide just got kind of squeezed out in the middle somewhere. Still a great brand and so on, but closing all the stores, and obviously it's a downturn in sales and so on. It's that's a bit of a shame, but you got to do what you got to do.
And they were known for the low cut skinny jeans from memory. My girlfriend at the time was big into the Sass and Bide jeans. But it's funny, but that is the nature of fashion. Like, how do you remain cool and in fashion for a long period of time? I don't think you can. Like your window is, you're lucky now if you're I think I wrote an article about it. Your window, you're lucky now if your window is like 5 seasons.
Yeah, you would think these guys sold at the right time, right? You got to know when to sell, and I think they sold. I think they sold well. Fashion is fickle, and certainly not the end of this brand, but it's definitely not the brand that it was. So I think sell when the going's good is the lesson there.
So what do you think you need to do to maintain a successful fashion brand for multiple years? Like, obviously Sass and Bide, they've been around for over 20 years. Yeah, and it's not the end for them, but it's obviously a change in their business. But they've had a relatively good run when you look at things, all told, for 20 years.
I think it's hard. Women's fashion, like PE Nation, I think is maybe going through something a little bit of a downturn. But then you look at where Pip Edwards went, Subi, still going strong. I wouldn't say Subi's as strong as they were 20 years ago. I don't know, but I think they're still going pretty well. They're a brand that's bucked the trend and had incredible longevity despite being really edgy and fashion forward. But is there a more fickle sector, I guess, than women's fashion? I mean, or fashion in general? Like, remember Ed Hardy, remember Juicy Couture, all these brands. It's hard, and if you're targeting a niche in fashion, you do run the risk of your time running out. It's not timeless; it goes through cycles. So I think, Mosaic Brands, that's as commercial as it gets, and they're struggling. So I think it's hard. I really do think that it's pretty rare for someone to hold on for 20 years. I think you got to think about the right time to exit as an apparel brand, because it is pretty tough.
You bring up Subi. Like Subi, obviously, like you said, Pip Edwards has gone back there. They went through a bit of a period where they were really cool, then they weren't for a while, and then now they're coming back now.
They are coming back, and I was pleased to see that Pip Edwards, there's a bit of a resurgence. I think, I don't know their numbers if they were. I don't think they could be possibly as big as they were, but amazing brand that stood the test of time and held up globally as well. So I think that's pretty rare, though. I think you do see a lot of fashion brands, particularly women's brands, just dip off and not become cool, particularly when they're playing into certain trends that just ultimately drop off.
Yeah. And, just going on the Subi thing again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but their Paddy Mills collaboration, I thought was really cool. Just a way to make it very current again with probably one of the greatest Australian Olympians of all time.
Yeah, that's how you stay relevant, isn't it? Paddy Mills is a great icon, and Olympics were coming up. I thought that was clever, and I think it's that sort of stuff that they used to put rats down the runway. Now they're partnering with NBA stars. Yeah. So you got to move with the times.
That's right. All right, and we're going to get into our final story of the day, and we're going to make this a fairly quick episode because I can see Paul's kids are upstairs. My kids have got home. I can hear them running around.
I can hear them because they're just kicking off.
Yeah. All right, we're going to be talking about one of our favorite topics, which is Temu. And Temu have had a bit of a reality check. So now I'm reading this from the Business of Fashion, where their owner, PDD Holdings, lost 1/3 of their value in the stock market. And this is the Chinese stock market, mind you. This is despite they had an 86% surge in revenue, but they've seen a slowing in growth. It's like, so even that they've seen a massive slowing in growth, particularly as they're saying that that there seems to be a lot more competition coming for them at the moment.
Like, who the hell? Like, love it, I love it, but who the hell's the I mean, this is a bit worrying. Who's the competition? This is a bit worrying. Who's the competition? I don't know if it's the little guy fighting back. But interestingly enough, the line after that is vendor turmoil and a number of lawsuits. And this is where I think there's got to be lawsuits coming their way.
Well, Shein have sued Temu.
Well, there you go. Shein, exactly.
I know, Shein is suing you for copyright infringement. It's like, what is going on in the world?
Well, yeah, I mean, can you imagine? Let those guys fight it out. That's fine. But I'm not super disappointed about this. Like, Temu's a problem here, and I think that there's got to be some regulation. But yeah, it was really like a massive loss of 1/3 of the value. But yeah, look, they're going through some turmoil and a warning on future prospects. So, but you're right, like 86% surge in quarterly revenue, but they're obviously predicting that slowdown, which trouble is in the horizon, which is really interesting.
Look, if the sound things is like what they're saying is that the consumer is now looking for more bargains, and more retailers are giving that now, whether it be Walmart or TK Maxx or TJ Maxx as it is in the US, and other low price retailers who are coming in there with a similar offering to Temu. And I think where Temu is now struggling is the fact that it is direct from factory, and the fact that they don't have a brand, and there are concerns about how trustworthy it is, means that people are maybe thinking twice before they buy from them. It's not quite as easy to buy from them. It's not as much of a no-brainer to buy from them as it was before. And they were talking about Temu's advertising, where it was all about shop like a millionaire, shop like a billionaire, and get all this cool stuff. But then you got to wait 2 hours. You got to wait 2 weeks for it to be delivered. There's quality issues like we talked about before. Whereas when you're buying from someone domestically, you can touch and feel the product. You can know that it's going to be delivered to you within a day. There's no issues with returns. Whereas Temu, there are some of those concerns. I think what they're talking about as well is that even Temu's experience, which is this really Vegas casino experience, like I've been on there a few times and I'm just like overwhelmed. I'm just overstimulated with all the different deals and things popping up that, it makes things really hard to choose what the hell to do there. And it's not a really clean experience.
Oh, it's actually a terrible experience. Like, I had a look at it the other day and it was so many discounts and bells and whistles and gamified, and I was just like, I'm out. Like, it was too much. What's interesting is Amazon's going pretty hard at them.
Amazon, you can buy direct from factory now.
Yeah, I mean that's huge. Like, Amazon taking you on is not what you want. Amazon's still the giant, particularly in the US, huge market share, so they're still smashing Temu there. What's also interesting is they've reduced their vendor fees. So, a real effort to say, hey, come over to us. We'll cut your fees, and so they're just stepping it up, Amazon. So I think it's Shein, Amazon, and Temu just fighting it out. And it will be really interesting. And then it makes the point about TikTok, which is now moving more heavily into its own e-commerce platform.
Yep.
More so in I think Singapore, they're really trying that out pretty hard. Hopefully it finds its way to Australia soon. But
next year, I'm told.
Next year, okay. Yeah. So that'll be really interesting. I think that's a dark horse.
And look, and even like their market share as well in the US, like TikTok is not TikTok. Temu is only 0.86% of the US market online market, I hear. So that's nothing. Well, not nothing, but it's still relatively small.
Relatively small.
Like in the grand scheme of things. And this is also considered like the number which I saw said that Amazon was 17.6. So they're still only a fraction of what Amazon is, as big as we think they are and how much of the market they're taking. It's like they've still got a long way to go.
Yeah, Amazon's still smashing them, and it looks like Amazon's just given the middle finger to them and said, "Yep, well, we're going hard against you, and good luck with that." And I kind of like to see it. Let's see those guys battle it out, and hopefully, let's not hope it becomes a race to the bottom, and there's no room left for your independence. But
well, I think it is going to become a race to the bottom. It already is becoming a race to the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, which is not really great news for independents, but doesn't change the fact that, Amazon have been around for a while now. We know we've got to build a moat around our brands. Nothing changes. Business as usual. You've got to differentiate.
Yep, absolutely. I think one of my children is now knocking on the door.
I think that's one of
Oh, is that you?
mine.
All right. Well, we're going to cut this one short because we both got to be dads now.
Yeah.
Not that we're not always dads, but now we need to actually
we're on duty
be active dads.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, this has been a pleasure. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Good luck with the kids.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week.